Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jack Rhodes, again speaking to you through the miracles of modern communication via the library staff, and I greatly appreciate that. My fifth grade teacher, Alice B. Dellery, told me never to apologize to anybody for anything you said in a public speech. We used to get public speaking training when I was in the fifth grade in San Antonio. And Mrs. Delry said, never apologize. Yet today I find I must. Today my voice is not everything it might be. We're going to record this anyway, in the hope that you can enjoy enough of it anyway that it won't be like the movies, subtitled, but nevertheless we're going to try anyway. If I have to take a brief break in the middle of filming, please understand. If I have to sip ice water, please understand. Having done exactly what Mrs. Delry told me not to do, we will now proceed to talk about one of my favorite all-time comedies, a brief, fast, 83-minute, hilarious comedy called Sitting Pretty, released in 1948 and starring Clifton Webb, Robert Young of Father Knows Best, and the great Maureen O'Hara. Now this is a domestic comedy of the type that we don't see as much anymore, except in perhaps old sitcom TV reruns. But we definitely like this kind of comedy in America, especially post-war. Folks, we'd been through the Depression, the coming of the war, the people who were in all their casualties and deaths, and the kids who didn't come home, the broken families, devastated economy until the war got going. And then at that time, we were ready to laugh. So comedies were particularly popular in that period of time, and perhaps none more so than this mega box office hit, which earned Clifton Webb an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, also very rare in a comedy. Maureen O'Hara, Robert Young, and many others provide able support. Richard Haydn particularly, look for him, voice of the Caterpillar in Alice in Wonderland, when he plays the nosy next-door neighbor. Who are you? With nasality that can hardly be believed. Watch for him, he's very prissy. And anyway, the point of it all is that we're going back to a time when people were just beginning to locate the suburbs. This is a movie about a man who, masquerading as a babysitter, gets a place in the suburb of Mockingbird Hill, I believe it is, and decides to write a book about, he went there for that purpose, undercover, so that we could expose the secret goings-on of what happens in the suburbs. And that's what he ultimately does, though it has a happy ending. All the intrigues, lies, deceits, country club mysteries, who's off with whom, who had a wild party, that's what he's there to talk of. But he has to come in some disguise. Do you remember, perchance, the television series Mr. Belvedere? Or the three movies, Sitting Pretty, Mr. Belvedere Goes to College, and the other one there, Mr. Belvedere Rings the Bell. Those were wonderful movies for Clifton Webb and other stars like Shirley Temple as a grown lady. They never matched the first one, but they did spin off a television series. Remember who starred in the Robert Young part as Mr. King, the harassed family of the household with three active little boys of Maureen O'Hara? Bob Uecker, the voice of the Milwaukee Brewers. Bob Uecker had his own television series as second billing star on, I believe it was NBC, for years and years. So when you see Robert Young's Father Knows Best presentation, you can pretend and say, I wonder how Bob did that scene. A man of many talents, and gives the movie a strong Wisconsin connection. So Clifton Webb, under the name Lynn Belvedere, I believe that may even be his name, arrives. She is advertised for the 9th or 10th in a row attempt to have somebody ride herd over those three boys that are like, 2, 5, and 7. And so as a result, she puts in the paper, and here comes Lynn Belvedere, room and board and so forth and pay. But it's not a little girl. It turns out to be Clifton Webb, a grown man in a beautiful tweed suit. Kids love him. Even the little one tags along after him. Only other things of consequence in the plot. How does it work out that they tell the story of Mockingbird Hill has a happy ending? Said enough. Get back, relax. Only 83 minutes. Boy, do they move along. Clifton Webb leads us through Sitting Pretty.